I think a lot of people have experiences, whether it's Padre Island or Mexico, with that they miss. That's a little bit more authentic. Like it is kind of
Hmm.
cool to go down to a place where you can get a real street taco, where it still has, people living there the way they've always done for 100 years, and be part of that. You can have a nice resort, which is awesome. And maybe you have a nice resort that then you can go over and you can experience some local experiences, or you can be in front of the development wave, and that's the other
Hmm.
key thing. It's like ballparks when they're coming, or a mall. Like as a investor, you want to be investing ahead of that wave, and so those are the places that people who are looking for investments, really want to be looking for, in areas that are early, like Bentonville and this, are great opportunities. And the natural amenities here are so fantastic. It's like, honestly, I don't care if there's no houses. If I can go out to the beach and I can see some beautiful birds, and I can and I can get on a kayak and, go through the area, then, that's a great experience. So I think there's lots of benefits to that as well.
Yeah, and
Tiffany,
I
I'd
think
love
the
to
shoulder
go ahead.
seasons, I think the shoulder seasons are really expanding. I think more and more people are seeing this as a more convenient and less populated destination than a Florida, or anything else. I mean, the price of land alone is driving people down here, right? And price of construction is, as Tiffany will follow up on, is much more affordable.
Mhm.
But we're seeing January, February, March fill up with that winter Texan,
Definitely.
that is coming out of Ohio, coming out of Wisconsin, coming out of Illinois, and looking for a place to land and spend their winters. So anyway, it's definitely developing, and we think that investing now will give you that low basis to really capture that business.
Hmm. Definitely. There is, of course, the element of risk and reward, or this idea that the early bird gets the worm. I think now when I look at a lot of my peers, who follow the trends of like, oh, you know what? Austin and Nashville are so sexy, and Atlanta and all these places. It is hard because they've already been so built up, and specifically with short-term rentals and with Airbnb, it is very difficult. The legislation around short-term rentals can be difficult because as it gets too popular, the city pushes back because it threatens the hotels, and there's been this tension here. We go typically to more secondary markets, or even I guess tertiary markets, maybe
Yep.
down
Yep.
in South Padre Island, because the legislation is not as strict, and we are able to actually run these as short-term rentals, and the city welcomes the
Inviting
tourism.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
encourage it, they don't discourage it. And there's not just, the crazy taxes and restrictions. The cost of construction and the permitting process, I will say, is much easier down here.
Oh, he's
So
yeah.
it's been great. I mean, I think the speed of which we are able to build down here actually quite impresses me. The permitting took, a week.
I
So
was just having a conversation with a colleague, and so we're working on developing in Colorado, kind of all around, and love Colorado. But we are recently rated like the third most difficult state to develop in the country. New
Hmm.
York, California, Colorado, and consistently every project is just an absolute battle. It was 3 years to get entitlements done for the hotel. We're
wow.
in the throes of trying to get that up and finished, and we haven't even finished yet. And they're already talking about raising uh, the lodging tax from 6% to 19% for the one hotel that's in our area. And it's like, you know, I was talking with a buddy of mine in the middle Midwest that's doing whole city redevelopments, and you know pointing out some of the opportunities and problems here. And he just shook his head. He's like, and he's spent time in Colorado. He's like, Zeke, why don't you go somewhere where they want you? I was like,
Yeah.
well, I don't think I'm going to convince Amy to leave Colorado, but from a development standpoint, all those things you're talking about are like music to my ears of,
It's true.
knowing how much work it is to get projects, much less hospitality and short-term rental projects, through the permitting things. It's a real deal. So
Yeah.
huge advantage with that.